Hello, Slicey Dicers. This is Brian with another top 5 ranked video for you. Trying to go through some of my favorite brands and rank my top 5 to 1. Going to be some honorable mentions in this one because it is Spyderco. And they make a lot of knives. And I really do like a lot of them. Now, these are not like historically significant, anything like that. It's not be like best Spydercos of all time. These are just my favorite top 5 of all time. There is at least one discontinued one on here in the honorable mentions. So I guess it's kind of my top 5 of all time. But I've not handled every Spyderco. That would be a really, really hard thing to do. Because like I said, they make a lot of them. So the format of this, I'm going to go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Between 2 and 1, I am going to have some honorable mentions. That was a suggestion from one of you guys from my Cold Steel video I did previously. I'll link to that at the end. And you guys suggested, yeah, put the honorable mentions like right at the between, build some suspense. I don't think I had any honorable mentions for the Cold Steel one because I just was trying to do top 5 and I was trying to make it really hard on myself. But man, with Spyderco, it was a bit too hard on myself. I do have to say. So this one has a lot of honorable mentions. I'm gonna do Benchmade next. I don't know if there'll be honorable mentions in that one or not. We'll see when we get there. I haven't really even started thinking about it yet. But without any further ado, let's go. I'm not going to do a whole lot of specs or anything. I will put prices in. I will try and link down below to if I've had previous videos about those particular knives. So let's get going. First up, we have the Manix 2. This happens to be a lightweight in the Maximet. You're going to see a lot of Maximet ones on here because Spyderco is one of the only ones doing it. I like this steel. I like that they all have gray handles and they all match. So anyway, multiple reasons why the Manix 2 is on here. I slightly prefer it to the PM2, which I know everybody, the paramilitary 2 is like the Spyderco of Spydercos. It's not my favorite of this kind of size. I prefer the Manix to it. It's like the Ergo's better. It fits my hand better. I like the blade shape a little bit better for the kind of stuff that I do, which is often slicing large amounts of cardboard, especially previously when I was more into the bike world. I was cutting up bike boxes all the time and stuff. The Manix was always great. And the basic Manix 2, which is now $105 with a BD1N steel, I have the BD1, still have it. It's the knife that really got me into knives. I did a video about the knife that broke me, and it was that Manix 2 lightweight. It was my first quote-unquote real knife from a quote-unquote real heavy hitter, mainstream manufacturer. And I love it. Still love it to this day. Still have it. But then since I got this Maximet one, obviously I'm not using it as much. But it's just a cardboard destroyer. And I do a lot of that. This one I got right before the holidays. Great time to get a brand new Maximet Manix 2. Cutting through all that holiday cardboard and everything, man, this thing is just a dream, and all I've done is strop it a bit, and it's still fine. Maximet just holds an edge for an eternity, but there are some downsides to the Manix 2 for sure, and the reason why it's number 5. First of all, prices. This isn't a downside, but I want to get the prices that way. You put $105 for the basic lightweight, $126 for the G10 version, which is S30V. This one's 200 and something, and then, I think probably the best one to get would be the S110V with the blurple handles. I used to have one of those. Don't know why I sold it. Kind of wish I had one back, but honestly, not enough to buy another one. I have so many Spydercos. But the only downsides to it, the reason why I wanted to bring the G10 one back in here is this plastic, what do they call it, the ball bearing cage or whatever they call it. It's still this way in the G10 model. Don't mind it on the lightweight because the rest of the knife is fancy plastic as well, so it fits in. It's fine. I don't care. But on the G10 one, it should be some sort of metal, stainless steel or whatever. For like $35, Flytanium makes a cage you can replace this with. Easy on the G10. I've done it. Brings me to the second downside. If you get the lightweight, these are pinned together. You can't take this apart. You can drill these rivets out, and there is a company that makes bolts for it, screws for it. I think OCD for EDC did a video about that. I can't remember the name of the company right now. I can't be bothered to do that, but I just maintain this with dribbling oil in it and using compressed air and all that stuff. That's a big downside as well. The only reason why it's not higher up the list, because as far as ergos and just EDC, and also, I guess, slight downside, 2A, it takes up a lot in the pocket for sure. especially if you get the XL version. The Manix 2 XL is a very large knife in the pocket, but yeah, I love the Manix 2. Just those few things keep it from going up higher on the list. Next up, this is one that surprised me, honestly. I had no intentions of buying one of these, and I remember a while ago I was in a local knife retailer, and I picked it up, put it in my hand, had to have it, paid too much for it, paid a bit over map just because it was there and I wanted it. I never handled one before. This is definitely one you got to get in your hand to appreciate. That is the Gayle Bradley 2. Now, this one has been modified with scales from Sharp Dressed Knives. They are gorgeous. Burlap micarta. Normally comes with the peel ply carbon / G10 stuff. This is a Tai Chung made knife. A lot of these are going to be Tai Chung, sorry, from here on out. But you'll see those scales in a minute. But it normally comes with those. But, man, this is just a knife. This is just a no-nonsense pocket knife, and that's what I love the most about it. M4 steel, which is a great steel, super thin behind the edge, hollow grind, $171.50, not completely insane on the price. Runs on phosphor bronze washers, just a liner lock, but good ergos, carries well. Not the sexiest thing on earth. I do think these scales give it a kind of old-timey sort of look that, even though it's a fairly new design, I mean, it's a Gayle Bradley 2, and the Gayle Bradley 1 didn't come out that long ago. It's just, I like this kind of traditionally sort of old-timey look that those scales give it. But even with the carbon, it still looks very purposeful, designed by, obviously, Gayle Bradley, who's like a rancher, and he competes in like cutting competitions and stuff. He knows how to make a Slicey blade. But ergos are good. It's just an awesome blade. Probably one of my top like 3 blades I have on any knife. It's just in use. It is superb. It's M4. Holds an edge forever. It's not stainless. Neither was the Maximet you saw earlier. This is more stainless than that was, but still, I keep it clean. Keep it with the EDCI that hopefully they're going to start making again. The only downside to this thing at all, and I'm not the only one to mention. Actually, I think I mention it less than most people because it doesn't bother me as much as it does some people. Lock bar access is a bit iffy, so you got to kind of reach in there with the meat of your thumb. And definitely, it's not the most comfortable thing in the world to disengage. A lot of people do, take the scale off and mill down that liner a little bit and mill down the scale a little bit. I've never really been bothered enough to do that. Same as the pins on the Manix 2. I know there's a solution to it, but I don't care. But you can still Spidey flick it, you can still thumb flick it, all that stuff, but it's not a fidget knife at all. It's just running on bronze washers and, liner lock. It's just a simple pocket knife. If there's a pocket knife thing in the dictionary and you wanted to put a picture, this is not a bad choice to put on there. There's a lot of other ones too, but I'm just saying, it's not a bad choice. Now, number 3, I am going to specifically say the Sage 5, but it could be any of the Sage series. A lot of you guys have your favorite Sages. I've only ever held the Sage 5 and now the Sage 1. Those are the only ones I've ever touched. So I'm going to say the Sage 5 because it's probably my favorite of the two in some ways. So what they did with the Sage series was they put different locks. So Sage 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 all have different locks. This is a compression lock in the Sage 5, which is Spyderco's kind of ubiquitous sort of lock. You'll see more of those. They also did a liner lock in the Sage 1. There was a frame lock. I don't remember which one that was. There was one with a kind of a ball bearing lock, which is very similar to what you saw in the Manix 2. But the Sage 5, I think, is the one that was really the latest and the most popular. This is the standard one, which is $163.80 with S30V. That's one thing I don't like about it as much. I wish it was a better steel. Again, Tai Chung made. There is a Sage 5 lightweight with FRN scales. That's $122.50. It's just super comfortable, and I like the compression lock. It's very fidgety, but it's mostly the thing I like the most about this is the ergos. The ergos are just so good. It's just so comfortable in the hand. It's easy to carry. It's a good EDC knife. I also now have the Sage 1 in the Maximet again, and of course I like that it's Maximet. So, but this Sage 1, it just doesn't have the fidget factor. Other than that, everything else I love about the Sage. It's the same exact shape. All of them are pretty much the same exact shape. Obviously, with different locks, you're going to get slightly different ergos, but not really. They all have excellent, excellent ergos. If anything, this might be better than the Sage 5. The only downside I can really find to the Sage series is a lot of them are just S30V. That's a downside to the whole Taichung series. A whole lot of the Taichung knives, the steel they come with is the steel they come with. They don't do a lot of sprints out of there. They do a few, but not like, you know, the Golden Colorado stuff. Like that Manix 2. Oh, you got in all kinds of different versions over time because it's made in Golden Colorado, and they just change the steels, different blade or different handles, all kinds of stuff. You don't see that much out of Taichung. So that's one downside. Other downside, the blade, yeah, it's got a pretty dainty tip on it. But this is really more of an EDC kind of knife. It's not really meant to be a bruiser or anything. Love the Sage series, but specifically I'm going to say the Sage 5. But I am really enjoying that Maximat one, absolutely, for sure. Number 2, that would be another Taichung, the Kapara. Just, I didn't love the way it looked in pictures once I got it. Not only is the shape better in person, but this carbon. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. You're about $203 for one of these. It is still S30V, which again, that's going to be the one downside to it. But man, the ergos are just outstanding. The first time I took this out of the box, I remember I ordered this, I think, with like 2 other knives. And this was the one I was least excited about. I honestly ordered it because people were asking about it. And then as soon as I took it out of the box, and the first time I put it in my hand, I was, oh my God, this is so comfortable. Compression lock again. There is a CQI version. This is not the CQI version. The CQI version has a bushing in the pivot to make it a little more drop shutty. But you know what? Mine's pretty darn drop shutty. So I don't really feel a need to upgrade to the CQI version. And this one is mine. You know, you get to a point, you've had a knife for long enough. I've had this thing for since like a week after they came out. Just a great knife. Love the ergos. And it was designed sort of to be a steaky sort of knife. Well, that's what I use it for. It's designed to be kind of a kitchen knife, but I use it as a steak knife a lot, especially, I've mentioned before in videos, especially in this, when I mentioned about this knife, back when we were allowed to leave the house and everything, I have a bit of a thing for, you know, cheap diner food. I like cheap diner breakfast food. I go drop my daughter off at school and go to this like cheap Korean diner. I get steak and eggs. The steak tasted delicious, but they had crappy, you know, knives you could barely cut it with. It was not the tenderest steak in the world, so I'd always bring this with me. It just works extremely well at that. It's been sharpened a lot because of that, because putting, you know, steel on a plate ain't good for it. So it's been sharpened a significant amount, but it's not hard to do. Just a great knife, and I love the look of it now that I've gotten used to it. Still, some people don't, and I get that, but number 2 will be the Kapara. Now, let's get to the honorable mentions, of which there are a few. First up, and this one barely made it. I almost knocked the Manix 2 off for this one, but the Little Native, my favorite 5th pocket knife in existence. The reason why it's not on the list is because it's my favorite 5th pocket knife, and I really think the size of it, this is a 2.5-inch blade. I really think the size of it, for a lot of people, is going to limit it to a secondary kind of role, unless you live in a municipality where you have to have a less than 2.5-inch blade. But for such a small knife, man, the ergonomics on this thing are just ridiculous. I have large size hands, skinny fingers, but still large size glove hands, and fits me just fine. All 4 fingers on it, no problem if you choke up, which is what it's meant to do. Obviously, it's kind of weird held back here. It's obviously meant to use that forward choil. And great place to put your thumb. The blade's thick enough. It's just S30V G10, made in the US in golden. It's $126. Not inexpensive for a little knife this size, but man, it's compression lock. It's really fun to fidget with. And that's, I think, one of the best things about it. Say you're a real Spyderco addict. And I've carried this combo before. You want to carry, you know, your big primary knife, the Gayle Bradley 2, great knife. Not any fun to play with if you're sitting around, you know, waiting for something. Carry this as your secondary. It's fun to play with. You can Spidey flick it when you're not in front of a camera. You can thumb flick it. It's all drop shutty. You can open it with the compression. It's fun to fidget with. And it's just a great little knife. The only reason it didn't make the main list is because it's a little knife. Next up, this is a discontinued model and one that I recently got. Actually, I think, yeah, it's my second most recent Spyderco acquisition. The Slicey buoy. Have to mention it. It's kind of iconic. Made iconic, I think, primarily people either credit or blame Nick Shabazz, depending on how you want to put it, for raving about this knife. I finally got my hands on one, and I do have to say it's amazing. Martin Slicey design, again, a Tai Chung one, XHP, full titanium liner lock, or frame lock, I apologize, and makes a great noise, great ergos, carries well. A lot of your knives you see on here have the wire clip. I really like the wire clip. Some people don't. I love it. It's just a great knife. Reasons why it didn't make it, not because it's discontinued. I don't care about that. It's that the secondary market on these is insane. Somebody gave me this. I'm just going to say it. Somebody gave it to me, so I love it. I'm very happy with it, but I would say average price for one of these on the internet right now, and this is, February 25th of 2021. $500 probably is about the average. It's not worth that. It was like $300 when it was new. I might pay $375, $400, something like that for it, but $500 is a lot for a discontinued Spyderco. It is a great freaking knife. It's so good. But at that price, $500, you think, oh, it's an appreciating asset. Am I going to use it? I definitely use this one. I've already re-stone washed the handles just to get some of the, it came with a fair amount of nail trails on it, so I stone washed those off, and I used it. I don't care, but yeah, I didn't pay $500 for it. So it is an awesome knife, but it's an honorable mention because to obtain one now is just stupid. If you pay the going price for one, yeah, don't do that. Another honorable mention would be, I have to put it on here because there have been some variants that I really like. But like I said, I prefer the Manix 2, but the Paramilitary 2, again, this is the Maxima. You have to include the Paramilitary 2. I do love a whole lot about it. Great ergos. I think the size is just about perfect for a full-size EDC. Carries pretty well. Some of the combinations are great and good values. I think the best value is the Blurple S110V one. They start at about $154 now for the S30V. I think that might be a little bit much, but the S110V Blurple is a pretty good value. I think there's like 180 something. This is a Maxima. It's a little more than that, but they've come out with so many different versions. If you don't like one particular PM2, you're gonna find another one you do. And now they're going to more blade shapes. There's a dealer exclusive Warney coming out. Can't remember the name of the company or the dealer. Somebody's going to post it down below. They just announced it like today on Instagram or yesterday. There's the Blade HQ Tanto version. There's so many versions. You're going to find one you like. Just overall, I prefer the Manix 2. Not by a ton, but by a little bit. So that's why this is just an honorable mention. And last honorable mention, I have to give it to the Spyderco Chaparral. This is the new bird's eye maple version. I like this one better because the handles are a bit thicker, but you're looking at only $95 starting out for one of these with XHP steel, which is awesome steel, and FRN handles, again, Tai Chung made. And then up to like $161, I think is what this one costs with the bird's eye maple and the XHP. But so where I said with the Sage 5, they did different versions in the Sage series with different locks. With the Chaparral, they do different versions with different handle materials. So you've got the Sun and Moon one, which is a gorgeous multicolored G10 with a sun on one side and a moon thing on the other. You have the Raphael Noble. You have the standard one, you know, with the Peel Ply Carbon G10. Just, you can get a whole bunch of different handle looks for them. It is such a thin slicey blade. The ergos are pretty good for what it is, especially on this one that's a little bit thicker. The only reason it's not in the main list is it's a very slicey blade, but it's a very thin blade, and it puts it firmly more into kind of the gentleman's category for me. a more appropriate EDC for what we actually say we do, or for what we actually do, but not for what we say we do. So a lot of guys are just going to want something a bit thicker in their pocket, even if they actually only cut open boxes. It's perfectly fine for what we're actually going to do, but if you want that bit more security, you're going to want something a little bit thicker blades. So that's one reason why it's not on the main list. So the entirely too many honorable mentions aside, what is my favorite? That would be another Slicey buoy design. I don't think this is going to be a big surprise to anybody. It's going to be the SpideyChef. Awesome knife. LC200N titanium, 234.50. Another Martin Slicey design. It is completely corrosion resistant, almost corrosion proof. I dunked this in salt water for hours and let it air dry, and it was still fine. Did it with a comparison video with a quiet carry Waypoint, which is Manix and titanium. Same claims made by both of them, that they are very, very saltwater resistant. And this thing actually, oh my God, it does not corrode at all. LC200N, I love this steel. Pretty easy to sharpen, holds an edge well enough. I do use this in the kitchen a fair bit. I've seen the comments from actual chefs going, that's a terrible chef's knife. It's too thick behind the edge. Well, it's pretty thin behind the edge for a pocket knife. And for a pocket chef's knife, it's pretty darn good. You can get down to stuff on it pretty well. Onto flat surfaces. You can actually chop with it fairly well. I really love the SpideyChef, but it's not just a chef's knife. It is a great just EDC. Very thin in the pocket, very easy to carry. Again, not a fidgety knife. You can say that about a lot of knives on here. The Gayle Bradley wasn't, the Slicey buoy isn't. This isn't either, but ergos are great. I just love the SpideyChef. I just think it's one of the best things they ever made. Obviously, I think it's the best thing they ever made, hence the point of this list. Great enough. This is a slightly newer one with the black screws. They had others. One downside to it maybe is no lock bar insert is titanium hitting there, but I don't have any lock stick on this one at all. I never have on this one, I don't think. I don't remember. I did have a loaner before, and I can't remember if it was the loaner or this. One of the two of them had some lock stick for like a week, it went right away without me doing anything to it. I don't remember which one it was, but fantastic knife. That is my favorite Spyderco, is the SpideyChef. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. Again, look for a Benchmade one. It's probably going to take me a little longer with that. I have to reacquire a knife for that video. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I've been Brian. Have a good one.